for now.
Good morning, Cloister Club. It's a real pleasure to welcome you to the organ loft of Exeter Cathedral. This is a very special space, and I suspect you're seeing a view of the cathedral that you have never seen before. I want to talk to you a bit this morning about nature and Exeter Cathedral. When people built Exeter Cathedral, they understood, as we do, that God is found throughout all of creation and all of nature. That means that God is found in flowers, God is found in trees and leaves, God is found in the sky, God is found in animals. And the next time you come into the cathedral, just look around you at the extraordinary number of images of flowers, of leaves, and of animals, as well as images of saints and Jesus. Jesus is, if you like, in the middle of a great big garden. Exeter Cathedral is a garden made out of stone, and everything in that garden is offering praise to God. I want to just talk this morning about one particular animal, that is birds. And I want to talk about an organist called Olivier Messiaen. Messiaen died about 30 years ago, and he lived in France, and he was fascinated with birds and birdsong, and he heard God in all the birds. And I'm going to ask our acting Assistant Director of Music and organist, James McVinney, to tell us a little bit more about Olivier Messiaen and the way in which he listens to birds and wrote birds into his music. And the next time you're in the cathedral and you hear the great big organ playing, you might like to listen out for bits of birdsong. So James, can you tell us a little bit more about Olivier Messiaen, please?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, certainly. As Father James said, Messiaen thought that birds and the songs that they sang were the voice of God and the songs of God. He saw God in all of the bird songs. So what he used to do, he used to go into the forests and he used to write down all of the bird songs that he heard and then write them into his music. So I'm going to play a short little extract, and you're going to hear three bird songs here. The first one is a bird called the blackcap, and the second one is a bird called the garden warbler, and the third one is the yellowhammer. They're very, very distinct, different bird songs, and you hear them in the music, and they go a little bit like this. So that's the blackcap, the first little bird that we hear. So really unusual sounds that sound quite high up in the music. And then this is even more unusual. This is the garden warbler, very, very different. Go back to the blackcap, the one that we heard just before. And then last but not least, we have the yellowhammer, and I'm going to play this with my feet. So that last one you heard, of course, was much, much longer and much less busy than the other bird songs. So Messiaen, as a composer, someone who writes music, had three very, very distinct ideas, very separate ideas for the music.
Thank you very much. That's very thrilling, isn't it, to hear the organ in such a different way, painting those colours and giving the impression of birdsong for us. Might you be able to play us something that brings some of those bird songs together? It'd be lovely to hear how Messiaen wrote that into pieces of music, if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to just play another piece, and talking about nature, of course, this is a piece based on bird song, but also springs of water. So you hear water music and you hear bird song music as well. You'll hear the song of the nightingale here, as well as various other birds, and it goes a little bit like this. Just find my settings. So we hear beautiful cascading water. So lots and lots of different sounds there, lots and lots of different bird songs. So it's as if we're kind of in a forest glade, looking up at the sky, hearing all of these birds with a stream flowing through. So Messiaen, no one did this before Messiaen did it in music, and especially for the organ. So you can hear, as Father James said, you can hear the organ being used in a really strange way.
But that's also really fun, because if you look up at the roof of the cathedral, it looks a bit like a forest, all of those branches of stone coming together to form the ceiling. And of course, all of those branches of stone have carvings of leaves at the foot of them. So it's really marvellous to hear all of that birdsong, water and forest music in this building that looks a bit like a stone forest.
The last thing I just want to play you is the very end of that piece, and we have a little bit of birdsong. And you heard all of the sounds that were very high up before. Now we've got some music, and I hope that the camera picks up the sound that we've got. This is how the music ends. We have on this keyboard here, I'm going to play notes which go right from the bottom right to the top. And then on the pedals, I'm going to finish off with notes right at the very, very bottom. And the idea here is that Messiaen wanted to depict heaven and earth. So heaven being the very, very highest sound that we hear, and on earth being the very, very lowest sound. And the idea that, as we said before, he saw God in all of that. And music and pitch and sound, whether it's high or low, can give us that idea. So here's the very end of this piece.
Thank you very much. Amazing sound, hearing the organ shaking. The notes were so low they couldn't be heard, but they could be felt. So next time you come into the cathedral, do remember that this building isn't just about people worshipping, although of course it is about people worshipping, and it's not just about God, though it is about God. It's also about all of creation, whether that's the trees in the forest, the plants in the field, or the birds in the air. And if you want to hear more of Messiaen and his birdsong music, you might like to try and persuade your parents and carers to bring you to the cathedral very early in the morning on Monday the 24th of May, because at 7 o'clock on that day, James McVinney will be playing pieces by Messiaen and his birdsong. So do join us there if you can, and I hope you have a very happy, nature-filled and birdsong-enriched week.